Hey, everybody, welcome to Meddkit's Provider Spotlight, where we're interviewing the most amazing private practices and healthcare and wellness practices all over the United States. And today we have a really awesome guest. We actually haven't had anyone like Traci come on before. So, want to introduce Traci Graf of Avid Home Care. Really excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I am excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, I know we have a lot to talk about, so we'll kind of dive in. So tell us a little bit about Avid Home Care. Tell us what it's about, what you do, and how you serve your community.
So, Avid is considered a non-skilled home care agency, and I'll explain in a little while that there's a couple different categories of those. But skilled home care are the skilled professionals, the RNs, the physical therapists, occupational therapists. That service is paid through your health insurance or by Medicare. And there's a lot of restrictions, limitations, rules that go along with it. There has to be a doctor's order. There has to be a reason for them to come out. And the reason can't be, I need help taking a shower. That doesn't, health insurance doesn't care about that. So, what you have to do is you have to hire an agency that's considered a non skilled agency. We have CNAs and home health aides, and they can do pretty much anything to help out around the house. They can help you with bathing, showering, dressing, or they can help you, or they can help you with things around the house, light housekeeping, laundry, changing your sheets is a big one that seniors have a hard time with. Um, y- you know, uh, I incorporate a lot of what we do for them into their quality of life. So if, for instance, we're seeing someone who always liked to sort of putter around in her little garden out front and she can't do that anymore, staff will go out and help her do that. Water her plants, maybe pull a little weeds here and there. We believe in improving their quality of life. So that's what our main focus is.
That's awesome. And so, just kind of like double tapping on skilled and non-skilled, is there things that you will won't do? Like, is there a line in between those two?
Yeah, there's a definite line. You know, skilled nursing, like I said, everything they do is done with a doctor's order.
Yep.
So we don't do any of that. But we can dovetail off a lot of their services that they do provide. So, say somebody has a small wound or a superficial wound, and the skilled nursing RN got the doctor's order, it set the frequency for how often the wound care will be done, what's being done to it. They can teach my staff how to mimic what they're doing as long as it's superficial. They can't do anything that puts anything inside the body. They can only do it that way. And they can only do it under the direction of an RN with a doctor's order. Physical therapy, a real popular thing that we do is continue what they call a home exercise program. So as the physical therapists are coming, they'll put together this little program for the patient, and one of the number one reasons people go back in the hospital is that they don't continue the home exercise program.
Yep.
And there's some strange phenomenon that people will not comply with family members trying to get them to do it. I don't know why. I've never figured it out, but they will do it if staff come and sort of incorporate that into their visit. We're here to do your exercises, make you breakfast, get your shower, get you dressed, and then they leave. So our agency is really very very custom to what the patient or the client needs, and that starts with me because I'm the one that goes out to meet our clients and to start the whole process, decide what they're going to do, talk to the family or the client about what needs to be done, and then if there's any additional training or anything that needs to be done, I can do that as well. I'm an RN with years and years of experience. I have no problem helping my staff be the best they can be. So that's how we work. And, we can work in conjunction with skilled nursing home care, but we can't do what they do,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Totally understood. And
and
then,
and they don't do what we do.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like they may offer a home health aide to come and help you shower. Well, at the absolute most, it'll be twice a week. They'll be accompanied by occupational therapy. When occupational therapy says you don't need them anymore, they're done. And usually the aides will only come for about 4 weeks and then they're done. So if you need help beyond the skilled agency, it's a non-skilled agency that's going to step in and help you.
that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of the population that you serve, tell us a little bit more about that and kind of, what the main focus is and what do you think that they're either most struggling with, or what do you find that your staff is generally helping out with?
Um, I would have to say, and this could possibly surprise my staff if they heard me say this, but I would say that the number one thing they help people with is having a good quality of life,
Yeah.
having someone they're connected to. Um, some are connected to family, some have no family. Either way, my staff becomes someone they look forward to seeing. They know when they're coming. They know who it is. I'm a pretty awesome matchmaker. It's another advantage to me doing my own client intake and admissions because I know my staff. So many times, when I meet the client, I immediately think, oh, this person's going to be perfect for this. And I sometimes I'm even texting the staff when I'm with the client saying, I have this that I'm going to need you for this. Can you do it? But I do think that's a major key to success is that they like the person coming. And every client I meet, there are certain things that I talk about every client admission. And one of them is that it's really important to me that you like who's coming. I joke and say to them, this is not someone who's checking you out at the Publix in the line. It's not, you're not landing on their floor, their unit, on their shift. That's not how this works. And, I make them feel very comfortable about, or try to make them feel comfortable about coming to me if it's an issue. So, I say to them, I've met people in my life who I don't like and I can't explain why. So I understand if it happens, and it's more important to me that you're getting what you need or deserve or are paying for versus hurting somebody's feelings. So, and even if that does happen, again, I try to be really positive with the staff about it. I don't go and say, oh, so and so can't stand you, you can't go back there. I go and I say to them, you're just not a good match with them, and maybe here's why I think you're not a good match with them,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're not things that are fixable.
Hmm.
If it's a male and they want a female, I mean, stuff like that's easy.
But in terms of, this is another big question, in terms of what you do, I know there is a lot of misconception, a lot. And so feel free to dive into kind of where your mind leads, because I know a lot of people, it's maybe they're taking care of a parent and they're not sure, I'm sure they talk to a lot of people, ask a lot of questions, a lot of stuff on Google, and it's all over the place. So yeah, I see a lot of head nodding. So yeah.
Yeah, it is, and the thing that I'm gonna hit on immediately that I am seeing a lot of, and I will be honest, I have not yet figured out. It appears that um, this is only happening in Florida, from what I can tell. Um, but what happens is, like you said, you go looking online, you look for home care, senior care at home, whatever, and you find a whole list of things. They are a combination. What you're seeing is a combination of skilled and non-skilled. But then somebody else has creeped into the searches and they call themselves nurse registries. I just spoke to somebody yesterday who said to me she called me and another and another she said and another home care agency in your area, and you're both 5-star rated. And I said, "Who was the other one?" And she said the name, and I said, "Oh, whoa, they're not an agency. They're a nurse registry." So here are the biggest differences that people definitely need to know. And it can help people, even if there aren't nurse registries in other states, trust me, there are ways people are trying to make money off of doing this type of home care without taking the right safety precautions for the clients. Majority of the clients are senior citizens, 98% of them. Maybe have some disabled adults once in a while, but it's out of pocket pay. So it's not covered by insurance. So the difference between a real agency are the three words: licensed, bonded, and insured. If you don't see those exact three words, something sketchy is going on. Because the people who use that and who pay for that status, we display it boldly on our marketing material
Yeah.
because we pay a lot of money for it. I'm going to show you on my flyer. Well, I'm going to try to show you. On my flyer, right down there in red,
In red.
it says fully licensed, bonded, and insured. If it doesn't say all those words, beware.
Trouble.
So nurse registries are a way that somehow the state of Florida created for people to portray themselves as a home care agency when they are really only a staffing agency. It gets so much worse than that because they have absolutely no control over the people they're sending in your home. They are subcontractors. They don't know them. They have no control. They cannot train them. They cannot supervise them. They cannot even monitor them to confirm whether they're at your house. You, the homeowner, is their employer. So they will contract, they will give the government a 1099 on all of those people at the end of the year, which says who he contracted them with. So if you're the homeowner, your name is on that document. And if that person decides not to file her taxes, well, then the homeowner will be responsible for their unemployment and Social Security tax. And so we have this lovely agency here in Florida called the Agency for Healthcare Administration, and they govern all of healthcare in this state. That's where our licenses come from. That's where we do background checks. And, they created this way for people to do home care, which is crazy because they have all of these restrictions and regulations listed right on their website if you look up nurse registries.
Sure.
So they are held to doing background checks, but again, here in the state of Florida, again, the Agency for Healthcare Administration created a way to expand the workforce for CNAs and home health aides by giving people with criminal backgrounds something called an exemption. It's not hard to get. I saw one girl get one in 48 hours. She downloaded the paperwork right off of the website for the Agency for Healthcare Administration, took it to the courthouse, took it with a letter of reference, and boom, she had an exemption. So what that means is that when we look her up in ACA, her status will be eligible instead of ineligible. Now, there is a way to see the criminal background. You can click on and a pop-up, and click on this little box, a pop-up window will open and it'll show you their arrest records. If they have arrest records and their status says eligible, they have a criminal exemption. And then lower down, I can see where they've been working. And they're working everywhere but for my agency. I'm not willing to take the risk just to fill a open staff slot. I'm not willing to do it. So unfortunately, a lot of people are willing to do it and do it on a regular basis. And I would be pretty sure that something like that system exists in other states. I
Sure.
would not be surprised. But, it's when I was a Medicare skilled nursing home care nurse for years before I even knew all this. And when I stepped into ownership at Avid is where I learned about these things. And I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. It's the riskiest, most conniving, manipulative way to scam senior citizens.
Yeah.
And they think they are looking, their services look just like mine. It looks just like the same thing. There's I don't I don't even know how they do it without a nurse, because they don't employ a nurse unless they use a subcontracted nurse. So usually someone within the agency comes out to do the admission visit and figure out what it is you need and put all that together. But it almost goes directly against the rules at ACA that they're not supposed to be able to create a care plan or create a treatment plan. Or it's so crazy that I'm literally gearing up to try to get to the state representatives in this area about it, because there's 1,100 of them in Florida, and in Brevard County there's 12 nurse registries. And people have no, I mean, I'm talking to social workers, I'm talking to discharge planners, I'm talking to home care nurses. They have no idea the difference. So if you go in the hospital and you need this kind of help, they'll hand you a list with the area agencies on it. And there's both on there. There's non-skilled and there's nurse registries. And to you, the consumer, they look exactly the same.
That's, it's very interesting that you said that because, I don't think a lot of people would know that. They have no idea who's coming into their home. And it's
No.
also kind of a stressful time for families. Maybe it's the first time,
Mhm.
I think either way, first time maybe they're having someone come in the home or they're
Right.
another company and now they're trying something else. And I think regardless, when you're the caretaker of someone that is elderly, it is just stressful. And so maybe you're not thinking about all these things. You're just hoping to get a body in the door. But you just don't want anybody to take care of a loved one. And so I love your approach that it seems like your staff and the company that you created is really a companion to these people. They're kind of like your fill-in family. Your
Yeah.
family is
And we're
treating
their
you.
advocate.
Yeah, they're
We're
their
their advocates.
yeah. And so I think that's a really amazing thing that you have established out in Florida, um, to do that for people, to serve your community in that way. Because I know that if it was our own family, we would want things to be done in that way. Um,
Sure.
so I think that's incredible. Before we leave off today, is there anything else that you would love people to know about home care? If there's like one thing, and now I know we talked a lot, especially in the misconceptions, but is there something that you wish people would do or know about when looking for home care, or the signs that it may be time, or anything else that you feel like you're just saying over like a broken record to people?
Well, I definitely see, and this is sort of how Avid was created. We're not a chain or franchise.
Mhm.
We were created out of my ideas when I was working as a Medicare home care nurse,
Yeah.
because I was shocked that some of these things that people needed, just they couldn't get help for them unless they hired an agency that had a 4-hour minimum. They may need an hour and a half of help, but they have to pay for 4 hours. So that was my first idea, is that if we're going to start a home care agency, it has to be that we are have no hourly minimum.
Sure.
Number one. And so I think by doing that, what I see happen to a lot of seniors is that it's like Swiss cheese. They don't lose help. They don't lose the ability to do things all at once, unless they've had, like, maybe a stroke or something.
Right.
But for the most part, it's like, well, I can't do this anymore, so I'm just gonna stop doing that. I can't really handle the shopping, going to the store, so I'm gonna have groceries brought to the house, which is fine.
Mhm.
But what ends up happening is that the senior becomes more and more isolated. They don't go out. at all for anything. Uh, Doctor's appointments, maybe, and family will take them to those. And I think that when you start to see your parents or an older person starting to struggle with some things at home, it might be time to talk to an agency. You can always talk to one with no obligation just to find out what are they about, what kind of things can they help with. And I will typically explain how my staff works is they're more like a personal assistant than they are, a nurse's aide.
Yeah.
For the majority of our clients, they're more like and that involves keeping their quality of life where they want it, where it was. And if that means, that one of them wants to go to Starbucks every Saturday for 2 hours for coffee, then, we I don't know about other agencies, but we will do that. I mean, we have done lots of stuff for people who, maybe live with family, but want to get out, can't get out by themselves.
Yeah.
I always say this in life in general, if you don't ask, you won't know. You're never going to find out. And even one of these agencies, it may not be something they typically do, but if you ask them, they may be willing to do it. And that's like when I meet with them, we have conversations and I do a lot of observation sort of about what's going on here. Are they not getting up out of their chair? Are they not walking? So many older people would love to take a walk outside or go out in their yard, but they're afraid they're going to fall. So, getting an agency involved to help you with things like that is really a great way to do it. And I would say look into it earlier than later. Because that way, even if you just start out small, one day a week for a couple hours, get your parent used to it, so that if there is some kind of emergency that you need more help, then it's like, well, it's no big deal. They're just going to increase how much they're coming for this time, and that'll be it. So I would definitely say and do your homework. Licensed, bonded, and insured. You want W-2 employees. You do not want subcontractors in your home. Care.com, I would not hire someone off Care.com to put into my parents' home. I mean, in Volusia County, which is the next county north of me, a couple was murdered last Christmas by a Care.com caregiver.
Oh
Um,
my gosh. That's
in one of the fanciest assisted livings here, a lady was beat to death by a caregiver. And the director of nursing covered it up, and everybody was caught. But yeah. So, realize you really can't be too safe. And I have a lot of people who will say to me, "Oh, well, they know my blah 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 blah." I don't care who they know. I don't even care if they're family, very honestly.
yeah.
Um, Theft is so big in home care. It is so bad that, and I say to people, when was the last time you inventoried your good jewelry? I don't inventory my good jewelry. I don't have that much, but I don't go in my jewelry box and look to see what's there. Well, if you have somebody coming in the home on a regular basis, cleaning lady, caregiver, whatever you want to call it, they could be taking a piece a month, a ring once a month. And here you won't even know until one day you happen to look and everything's gone. So there's some, and the people who are doing private home care, in my opinion, are usually people who are trying to avoid working with an agency for a reason. And they don't just steal, they manipulate, they get into your finances, they get into your personal business. Those are all boundaries that should never be crossed in home care. Those are professional boundaries and they are very important.
Yep.
So, you really can't be too careful. And that's the best advice I can give
I
is
love it. So
just,
helpful.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, you can't be too careful. And
Mm-mm.
I love what you said, and it's pretty much what we've been doing here is just ask questions. And I love how you said, if you don't ask, you won't get or you won't know. And
No.
so I think, and I love how you said, just start small or just,
Sure.
tiptoe, put one foot in. and see where it gets you. Because yeah, the worst thing is then you're really in panic mode, something happens, and then you feel like you have no resources and you're making decisions out of panic, and not decisions that are maybe good for you because you're
Because
worried.
you're
Yeah,
desperate and you're worried and you're right. So I
yeah,
mean, you know, I mean, my entire business model is based off of not wasting people's resources. So, you know, my concept about all of it, and other owners don't agree with me. They continue to go ahead with 4 and 6 hour minimums. Some of them. Uh, I've only met a few people who could afford this, you know, without any question until the end of their lives. And so I feel like all of my clients, because they're all elderly, are going to eventually need more help. So why not start out slow? Let
yeah,
them get used to it. Don't enforce hourly minimums where you're, you know, using their resources before they need them.
yeah,
And then, you know, as they need more help, you're in the home. So of course you're going to get the business.
yeah,
But I just feel like it's a better way of doing it because, especially here, people live to be 100. I've had many clients live to be 100 or more,
yeah,
and you can't use up all their money in their 80s or their 90s because you don't know how long they're going to live.
yeah,
And you know, if they run out of money and they need more help, I mean, I don't know what people think, Rachel. People think that there's like a fairy godmother that's going to come and carry you off to the nursing home. There isn't. There is not. You know, it's just, I mean, it's just, it's like the worst possible outcome for someone, unfortunately, if they've worked their whole lives. But so you really do have to plan,
yeah.
you know, for the future because you may very well outlive your money.
Yeah,
Should be
that's
careful with it.
really, really smart and wise. I think, a lot of people, I'm sure, like thinking about it now, like, oh, maybe I should start thinking about some of these changes. And I think it's, to your point, it's never too early and you should,
No.
because you just never know. So I think this
Mm.
is amazing.
We make hurricane plans here in Florida, you know, all the
Yeah.
time, and they drill it into you. Have a plan. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have this. Make sure you have that. And you know, I'll say to somebody who I met somebody not that long ago, was like 96. He's got a feeding tube. His wife can't handle it. His wife's completely overwhelmed. And I said to him, "So what's the plan?"
Mm,
He said, "There is no plan." I said, "That's not good at your age." I'm like, there needs to be a plan. You know, so it just I do think it's something that people overlook.
yeah.
And I think part of it is just none of us want to admit that we're getting older,
Yeah.
me included. But you know, it is a smart thing to at least have an idea of if this happens, we'll do this. If this happens, we'll do this. But really, getting even just a little bit of help in the home, even a couple times a week, can make a huge difference in the way
Yeah.
somebody is living.
That's amazing. I think that's super smart. I think, yeah, a couple of things to take away from today is prepare in advance. Ask the right questions. Ask any questions, frankly.
Ask any question,
Ask
yeah.
any questions.
I'm a rapid fire question asker. I drive people crazy.
Yeah, no, I think this is amazing. This is Traci, this has been awesome. Such a wealth of knowledge. Before we leave off today, can you tell people how they can contact you if they have any more additional questions to ask?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, reach out.
Well, my company is Avid Home Care Services, and we're based in Merritt Island, Florida, which is down on the East Coast, about central. We're not that far east of Orlando. So the office number is 321-392-3400. You can call us anytime. You can ask to talk to me directly. If you don't get me, you'll either get myself or my husband, usually answering the phones. And you know, if you just need some guidance, even you just not sure what to do, I don't have any problem helping people. I love being a nurse, and I became a nurse to help people. And this is such a confusing, convoluted subject that I'm more than happy to help steer people in the right direction rather than, you know, have catastrophes happening. So,
I love it, Tracy. Thank you so much and hope to have you again. I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about another time.
Yep. Anytime.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.